All right. Well, we are now live. All right. I always start off a little slow in the beginning just to let the audience build up. But we are now live both on Facebook and YouTube. So the YouTube subscribers should have the notification, and there we go. I see numbers slowly popping up. So, all right, cool beans. All right. If you're just now jumping in, um, please take advantage of the share button. Please feel free to share this button around, to share this link around, and help the audience grow. Um, as we get into our discussion tonight, um, you, the listeners and viewers, you guys are the ones who will add to the discussion. Tonight we welcome every time we go live. We always welcome questions. So there's definitely Q&As. We always welcome a Q&A session, and we'll get into a few things. Right now with me is Mr. Zach Sterick, and
What's up?
also tonight joining us is Mr. Sam DeLoach and the Solo Squatcher. So, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, like I said, if you got questions, go ahead ask them. I'll be watching the live chat, and we we love questions. Couple things we're gonna do. We're gonna before we get too far into anything, we're gonna do a little promo tonight. We're gonna do a promotion, and I'm gonna jump here with Zach Sterrick. Zach Sterrick's got a special event coming up tomorrow evening, and I'm actually gonna let Zach take this away because I'll get everything totally messed up. So again, while we're doing this, go ahead, start sharing this. Hit the share button. If you got questions, put them in the live chat, and we'll answer to the best we can. So Zach, tell us about what you got going on for tomorrow night.
Coming to you from Marion, Illinois, at Black Diamond Harley Davidson warehouse in my hometown of Marion, Illinois, comes Stride Pro Wrestling presents All American Pro Wrestling. Uh, All American Pro Wrestling, APW. We will be going and doing a show that benefits a former wrestler, Dan Curly Summers, who used to wrestle for All American Pro Wrestling back in the early 2000s till about 2013, 2014. And he's been having a lot of health problems. He's having trouble with his insurance because he needs to have some heart surgery done. So we're going and we're putting this on to benefit him. 100% of every bit of money that's made in ticket sales, merch sales, anything that we get from concessions, it's all 100% going to help out Curly because he needs this surgery like really, really bad. And you'll be if you come on out, doors open at 6. Bell time is at 6:30. We will be having your favorite superstars of both old and new. There will be the Playboy Paul Rose, the Old School Warrior Axel, or Heath Hat and Jay Spade. Even our local former newscaster and favorite wrestler, Kevin Huntsberger, will be making his in-ring return. You can come out and you can see the Survivor Series style tag team match between Team Stride and Team AAPW. Come out and see your favorite wrestlers. You can see me and the Next Generation tag group of Bones Brinkmeyer, Justin Durst, K-Mac, Luke Williams. Will be in there in the Battle Royal, kicking everything off. I'll tell you, we're expecting a huge turnout for tomorrow night because whenever I was talking to Heath Hatton, the guy that owns the company, he said we have already sold in 1 month's time of whenever we announced this this show, we've already sold 250 plus tickets in advance.
Wow,
it's awesome.
And it got to the point where he was getting so many messages on Facebook that about getting tickets. He says, just get them at and
Sorry.
we're looking to go and have anywhere from 300 to 600 people in the Black Diamond Warehouse, which is about one of the biggest crowds that we've ever had. And we've already got a stack card up. B-Rad and Will Powers will be in a grudge match. Jay Spade, Kevin Huntsberger, and Heath Hatton will be taking on the Kings of Destiny. Roger Mathis, Hargis, and Savion Ayers, the Squire. You will be seeing in the main event my idol and my childhood hero, Edmund Livewire McGuire, teaming up with Red Daniels to take on the old school warrior Axe Allworth and his brother, Gaylord Stevens. You can come on out and see El Magnifico defend his legacy championship against Mike Masters, the Masterpiece. It's just going to be an explosive night. It's going to be freaking awesome. I invite everybody to come on out. Tickets at the door for adults are $10. Kids 12 and under is $5. Let's pack this place out. Let's raise some cash for Curly. Let's go on out there and let's show you what the best pro wrestling that Southern Illinois has to offer.
that's awesome. Now, I had asked you earlier. Now, you did say you're definitely going to record this event, right?
Yeah, I'll be in the ring and everything, but I'm going to be having like so many people taking pictures from all angles. There's going to be cameras running the whole time. I mean, I haven't even made my debut yet, and I'm already getting heat. Like, I mean, like, no kidding. There's people reaching out to me wanting to book me to go wrestle for their promotion. There's people that even in the next county over that he was on Snapchat and he sent it to me. He says, "What do you think of the Southern Outlaw?" The guy's like, he's been just talking shit. And they said, "Well, what do you got to say?" He says, "I don't have nothing to say. All I know is he's been talking." And I'm like, this is awesome. This is a crowd draw. I mean, I'm just
Nice.
out there doing my thing, being my mouthy self. And I mean, I'm just getting heat, and hopefully it'll add in ticket sales.
Yeah. Now, what about your mom? Your mom and brother going to be there by any chance?
Mom will be there. I mean, I got a whole entourage. I've got 20 people coming. That's 20 tickets.
Yeah.
That's to my knowledge of people that's coming.
Nice. Now, the reason I was asking if your mom was going to be there because I was going to say maybe she. It's up to her, I'm sure, but maybe you could volunteer her to hold the camcorder.
She'll be videoing it on her phone and broadcasting it Facebook Live.
I can see your mom now in front of everybody. That's my baby. That's my baby.
No, my mom used to actually. Here's a little thing people don't know about Mama Squatcher. She actually used to work for ICW as a ticket saleswoman out of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Back whenever it was back during the territory days, and whenever they'd ship in like Macho Man, the Iron Sheik, Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, Ric Flair. Because she dated a mark wrestler by the name of Texas Tony, and she used to go and sell tickets, help set up the ring and everything. And she could tell you some stories. There was like one time she was sitting ringside and Tony's in there getting his ass kicked while Macho Man's getting his shit in, and he looked at Macho Man looked at my mom and said, "Watch this, girlfriend. I'm gonna kick his ass. Oh yeah."
Macho Man, I always loved him. Well, he was one of my favorites.
My mother could tell you some stories, man. But so far what for the next two shows looks like, I'll be wrestling twice probably in February at the Redbird Rumble in West Frankfort, Illinois. at the West Frankfort High School, and then there's No Love Lost, the show, which will be February 20th or 22nd, I believe. They're all on Saturday. Redbird Rumble is February 1st, and then No Love Lost is the 20th or the 22nd. All the show prices are the same. No Love Lost will be in Johnson City, Illinois, which is right up the road from my hometown. And I'm pretty much going to be jobbing the teachers.
Nice.
And going out there and getting my ass kicked while the other guy gets his shit in, as they say. And yeah, I'm going to be blowing up, guaranteed.
Nice. Well, real quick, before we go any further here, Nikki's on the live chat. Nikki, where are you? I sent you a link. Anyway, we're gonna get into something else here. We're gonna switch gears. But real quick, we already got a question by royalty. Mr. Bill Brock is in the house. Yeah, and he had asked a pretty interesting question, which we'll get to that very shortly. One of the things we spoke about here in the past, we talk a little. First of all, for those who might be new to this, we talk about Bigfoot research. We talk about Bigfoot encounters and sightings and a little bit of everything. Anything involving Bigfoot, including the community and the self and the well-being, the behavior, and the interaction from other. Sometimes, some of you guys are probably very familiar with some of the drama that happens in the Facebook world, Bigfoot world, whatever you name it. And well, I know we have Sam Deloach with us tonight, and Sam, I know we're going to jump with Sam here because I know he's limited on his time on here tonight. So, Sam, if you could give us a little rundown. I know you shared some information with me earlier, and I've, regarding a certain video, which I've gotten to listen to that video. I didn't get to finish it, but I heard enough. That was actually enough. That video I heard you listened to, in my opinion, before we go any further, it was very childish. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah.
Why those individuals would have to act up and just go on about stuff like that. And considering, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, because you stated earlier when you first brought this to my attention, the video that they made based off of one of your videos was an old video, and they're just now getting it as if it was something that was just put out, correct?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's an old video. I don't even, it's probably back from the summer, back in June or something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
it was,
tell us about what's going on here.
Yeah. So from what I gathered because I didn't watch all of it either, but from what I gathered, and I've asked them numerous times to debate me on this subject of Bigfoot, and they won't do it. And every time their excuse is that I have the intelligence of a 2-year-old. I don't know anything about Bigfoot because I've never seen one. Well, I don't see them every day like they do. I don't talk to them every day. I don't give them names. You gotta, their claims are just not, I don't know, man. But so they kept talking about me throughout the video, and, they had made some remarks about the way, if I can remember it correctly, that nobody follows my techniques. And okay, so they had asked that I had 3 new people try to join my group, and they wouldn't join because my techniques or something about that. But anyways, he doesn't even have a technique. He says he doesn't use science. It's kind of every creature that's been discovered on this planet has been done through science. Yep. And I'm sorry to bust everybody's bubble, that is the only way that it's going to be proven is by science. And so and I get it. I mean, they say they use the native ways, but that's fine. I get it. I think a lot of this answer lies within the Native Americans. I do, but they don't have any research techniques that anybody can follow, especially in Australia or the United Kingdom. There's no Bigfoots in the United Kingdom. Sorry, there's just not. And 11 other countries that he probably can't even name 11 countries for that matter. But I mean, I don't understand it. They think that they're really serious about it, and it's unreal. It's crazy. And I really want to come up there and do some actual go out with him and see actually how he is. Seriously. And just see if he's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me jump in there real quick. Baltimore can't be here tonight. He's traveling right now.
I hate that. Yeah.
But the one thing I could tell you, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I'm pretty confident on this statement I'm about to make. As far as Native Americans, first of all, their way of living was somewhat primitive, because back then in the when they lived in their lifestyle, of course, it wasn't in today's modern world. They lived primitive.
Mhm.
So therefore, a lot of their ways, they were also very spiritual in a certain sense. So for the record, a lot of the way they conducted their lives and a lot of their medicines, a lot of their natural resources that they used, that was in reality, that's all types of science. The way they lived was a science. But just because they weren't living in a modern today's world, doesn't mean back then it wasn't science. It just science. The name science didn't really exist with it really back then. So
Exactly.
And the other thing, yeah. So there was something else I was going to add to that too, but yeah, science is used in everyday life. So as far as I'm concerned, to say that one does not use science to learn something is to me that's contradiction.
Sure. Yeah.
And even on the live chat, Brown Dwarf said science is always changing. Yep, we have old science and new science.
Exactly.
And science advances. Yeah,
Mhm.
you have basic science and you have advanced science, regardless of what type of science that may be.
Right.
So, but people with common sense understand that kind of thing and realize that.
Yeah.
To say science it does not prove nothing, to say science does not work, someone to say that's pure ignorance. If you ask me, that's just my opinion.
So I got that thing wrong with the three that I said that three groups tried to join my group. I was wrong. It was 3 groups that have joined his, and I want to know what those 3 groups are. I mean, I really want to know what they are because there is none. There's none.
I think the 3 groups, their leaders are Larry, Curly, and Mo.
I mean, really. But let's see. I wrote some notes down here. Oh, yeah. So about the Bigfoots speaking fluent English, they say they speak fluent English. That's BS.
Yeah, I remember.
We all know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they say that my wife hoaxed me. That's not right. That's not right. And he needs to learn my last name too. It's Deloach.
I know.
Deloach. Deloach.
I crack up.
It's crazy, man. Everybody does. Everybody does.
Every time he says it, I crack up when I hear it pronounced that way.
Deluge.
Yeah. If it had 2 O's, then I could see it being Deluge if it was double O instead of OA.
Yeah. I mean, he's crazy. And then he says he's had evidence since 1981. So I'd like to see that.
Well, I
If he's
want to
had,
know here.
yeah, okay,
I want to know who's lying, him or his family, because I've been told by multiple family members of his he didn't get started. They all said the same thing too. He didn't get started doing Bigfoot till 2010. So who's lying?
Here's what we do.
yeah.
Give draft.
Go ahead, Zach. What was
So
that, bud?
I said give him polygraph.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Hieronymus passed that numerous times. That's just,
yeah,
I mean, that's one side of the story, and I happen to believe it. But I mean, everybody's got their own opinions, and that's the thing about this Bigfoot community. Um, I'm not, I am knocking the way he does things because he's not telling the truth about it, and he knows he's not.
hey
Um,
Sam,
yeah,
could you read Harold's comment on the screen?
yeah, I know. I don't think he is that, Harold. I really don't. Um, I just think that, and I've had a talk with a very good friend of mine about this, and he brought it up. Um, he talks about this so much that he actually believes it. You see what I'm saying? They actually believe it,
Yeah,
and it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for them or the community. But they only have like 2 watchers, so and that's on a live deal. They've got like 2 to 4, whatever it is. I don't know. They've blocked me.
right.
But every tree break in the woods is done by Bigfoot. Um,
You
I
saying
mean,
that? You saying that?
yeah, I mean, and it's not. I can go in my backyard in my woods and find several tree breaks that were not done by Bigfoot. I mean, I know it. I live in a neighborhood. But it's just been storm damage back there in the woods. That's what it is. And I do think that these creatures do break trees or whatever if they're walking and they're getting away. Um, but every tree he comes across, it's a Bigfoot did it, and it's just I don't know. Maybe I'm blabbering on about beating a dead horse here.
I will
Well,
agree that not every tree break is a Bigfoot. And I found numerous tree breaks, like coming up here next Friday on Channel A on PBS. You'll
Mm-hmm.
be the episode that I was on. We found quite a few tree breaks, but I wasn't going to say, if it was a Bigfoot. All I said was it had to have been something big to do it. I didn't say it was Bigfoot directly, because we got deer, we've got we got wildcats. It could have been anything. It could have been a man walking through the woods, because this is private property out here where I work at, and there is hunters. He could have done that. But the one thing that I do believe was a Bigfoot that did this is, Daniel, you remember back in January whenever I showed you that gigantic, big ass teepee structure I showed you back in January?
I do believe so. Yes, yes.
Going away from that, I went and I filmed it whenever I was documenting the structure. And going away from it, there was a trail of nothing but twisted and broke off saplings and limbs off of trees, where something just gone through there, just going and just pulling and wrenching the shit out of these saplings.
Yeah. Now, see, that's different. But he's claiming like I don't know, man. You've seen his videos. They're just like 4-inch round trees,
I
or
don't know.
it doesn't matter what size. They can be a foot off the ground, and he'll say that a 28-foot tall Bigfoot did it. You know what I mean?
Them trees,
Well, here I'll give.
they're gonna be prone to wind damage. So,
Yeah.
like
Well,
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
seen
he's
out
just
I'll give you
here.
another example. Well, Sam, you were talking about you live in a neighborhood. I'm assuming is it like a subdivision or something, or
Yeah, I mean, it's just your normal neighborhood. I mean,
yeah,
we live up on a big hill, and uh, I mean, we got a good piece of woods behind my house, but
right.
you
Well,
know,
in some of my travels, I drive through the mountains a lot. I go in some rural areas, and I have driven in DC for my job. And some of the roads on the outskirts, surrounding the DC area, in very populated locations, there's sections of small patches of woods and trees here and there.
Right.
And I just, I have a habit of looking at trees, for my own observation, for my own purpose of studies. And I was blown away. I said, look at all those tree breaks and crazy crap over here. And I'm here in DC. Is there Bigfoot living in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital?
No. I mean, we know that.
So, yeah, but that's the point, I'm trying to add, basically I'm trying to add to that. People need to realize that's the point that a lot of us try to point at. You see a tree break, it could be a number of things. Wind, snow, et cetera, other wildlife. Bears do break trees because they play on things,
Yeah. They do, yeah.
So
I've got plenty of evidence of bears breaking over trees up on High Knob. I mean, we know of one area because there's game cameras there, and it's on the game camera of them, breaking these trees over.
Go to the top of the tree, and the tree can't support their sheer weight, and they'll break.
Exactly. Yep.
The same way, like I saw a video of a giant panda did this, and he went up there in the tree, and the tree broke, and he fell out of the tree. He backed and got up and everything, but these bears, like Daniel, that video of that black bear I sent you that was surrounded by the hounds, that bear had to weigh every bit of at least 600 pounds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I've got steers out here just that big.
The record was set 2 years ago, Big Stone Gap, Virginia, black bear, 700 pounds. You can Google it.
Actually,
unless it was broken.
There's one. The one I looked up that's so far recorded. It's 728 pounds here in Virginia. Yeah. I posted about it not long ago, even though it came back from 2000. I think 2013, I believe. 2000. Yeah, I think it was around 2013. Yeah, it was from. I want to say it was a bow hunter. I could be wrong on that part, but anyway, it was taken by a hunter, and it was around 728 pounds. So now, we do have some pretty big bears. So.
Oh yeah, my brother-in-law's tracking one. I think he's got like 6 cameras out right now, and they're coming pretty close to the cabin this year. But he's got a good sized one, man. That's that's roaming around there. They can get big.
Yeah. I have seen bear tracks in my area on one of the trails. This was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, but maybe a little longer. No, it was about 4 or 5 years ago. But I was hiking a trail, and I came across these tracks, and they did not look old. And I brought this up before. I swear to you not. I lie. Well, let me put it this way. I lie to you not. These tracks were around 14, 15 inches. And these were bear tracks. And as I'm walking along this trail that runs pretty deep in the woods, this trail is over 7 miles long because it goes from where it starts, it goes up to another ridge out into a lot deeper into the woods. But I was walking along this trail. I wasn't too far from the forest road when I was seeing these tracks. But when I came across a pile of scat that was close to still steaming, I did an about face and went back the other way. Because I know that was a big bear with 14, 15 inch tracks. Yeah, that was a big bear. I have seen a bear, not in that particular area, more on the outskirts of my research area. It was at nighttime. I was actually headed out of the area back when I had my regular blazer. That bear had to been at least a good 500 pounds. His back was at least a good foot over the top of my the hood of my blazer when he crossed in front of me.
That's crazy.
That was a big boy. Yeah, he was huge.
Damn.
So, what's that, Zach?
I'd have pissed my pants.
It was actually the coolest thing ever, man. Now, Dad, I believe my father saw that same exact bear in the daytime, because in the same exact area. Because Dad told me, but this was about a month after I saw this bear. Dad was in his neon that he no longer has, thanks to my brother totaling it. But anyway, Dad was driving out there, and Dad saw the bear on the same side of the road where I saw it cross over to. The bear was just standing there, and Dad said the bear, he was just watching, and they were eyeing each other as the bear was just standing there on all fours, just looking at him. And they were like, as Dad drove by, Dad's like they're staring at each other like the bear, basically it's like the bear was like, yeah, keep going, buddy.
Yeah.
So Dad said that was the biggest black bear. Well, actually, he's seen a huge one he almost walked up on during the hunting season up off the Cole Road one time. Dad thought that was he was walking up on top of he was walking on a trail that went up on a hill. Dad got up on a hill, and he's seen some some burnt stumps and whatever, in that area. They've done controlled burning in there at one point. But Dad's staring at this stump. He said he noticed something looked odd about it. But he's standing there. He's got his 7mm .8 rifle, and all of a sudden, this big, massive head just lifts up. And Dad's like probably, I don't know, 30, 40 feet. No, maybe a little further. But the way he made it sounded like he was pretty close. But that bear raised his head up and just stared at him for just a couple seconds, and then slowly turned around and just made his way off. But Dad still kept walking backwards, but with his sights on that bear. Dad was not turning his back to that bear. But yeah, Dad.
What did
that was
what do you guys think about this new show coming on?
Which one?
Expedition Bigfoot. What do you think, Daniel?
Well, I haven't really looked too much into it. I know the only person I know in it is Russell Accord.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with how it goes.
I'll give you my 2 cents. The way they've got it cracked up, everything. I am hoping that they at least find something, and not like finding Bigfoot where they went for a decade and didn't find shit.
Mm-hmm. And, what about that girl? That girl's off of some other show. Wasn't she, Zach, like a UFO show or something? Wasn't she off of some show, the girl that's going to be on it?
I ain't following it. I've been too busy with wrestling and work.
I'd say so.
She may be. Like I said, I don't know the other people. I haven't really looked into it too much.
Well, they learned from our good friend there that lives near you. All 4 of those people learned from people like him. I just want you to know that.
Oh,
that's what he claims.
And I'm surprised you. And I'm surprised you never had a Bigfoot sighting, Sam. You know they're tall as trees, right?
Oh, I mean, Russell Accord, I did not know he had learned from this guy. Didn't have a clue. That's what he claims. Oh, these types of people learn from us. BS, dude. Go on. Nobody likes you.
If Russell Accord heard that come out of his dude's mouth, he would have a laugh of a lifetime if Russell heard that.
Yeah.
Whenever I do take people out in my area, like I've been doing a lot of work with the Southern Illinois University in Carbondale for the past year. I've been doing a lot of work with them. Whenever I do go out, if they ask me questions, I'll answer it to the best of my abilities and everything. I'm not going to, and I try to teach a little bit about wildlife. I ain't going to try to teach Bigfoot to them and everything because it's not an exact science. But it's like whenever I had Darby Orcutt out here, whenever I had the news crew out here, whenever I had Adam Holbrook and Mark Nice with me, I go and they ask me all these questions and everything. I go and I try to answer to the best of my ability because I'm not going to leave them hanging. And I go and I give them my idea of what's going on. Like if they ask me why did they build these structures, I give them my idea. I don't claim to be an expert, and I never will. What would I like to go and think I got these things figured out? Sure, but I won't. I go and I at least try to educate people on the wildlife to what I know.
Right. Exactly. And that's the way I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not going to be like, I'm no Daniel Boone or David Crockett of the woods. I mean, I grew up out here in the rural areas of Williamson County all my life. The woods are my home. And I know just about everything that goes bump in the night out here, and some of it I don't. But I will say this, though. Hardin County, Illinois is a hotbed of Bigfoot activity because there's a group down there that I call, they don't have a name for their group that they got. It's these two elderly gentlemen that are retired law enforcement. And they told me some stories. And one of them, he told me this guy that used to go out there and cook dope. He'd stay out there in the woods for months at a time, and they couldn't find him. It took them 2 years to find the guy. Well, whenever I'll call him Joe, but I'll call him by their first name, Joe picked the guy up and he was taking him to Menard Prison, and he says, I'm going to ask you something. You're out there in the woods all the time. What is the weirdest thing that you have ever seen? And this guy cooked dope. He didn't do dope, but he sold it. And he said, well, there was one time I was walking up this forest road and I heard a twig snap off to my left, and I looked over, and about 10 foot from me was this big monkey. He didn't say Bigfoot, he said monkey. And he looked up at that, and he said, looked at it for about 5 or 10 seconds, and that thing took off up that ridge line, and it was gone in 3 steps before I could even think about moving. And he said, and the thing moved so fast there, and it was fall time whenever he saw it. That thing, you couldn't even hardly hear it stepping. And he said this thing had to have been at least 8 foot tall that he saw. And then there was another guy said he was chased by 2 Bigfoot on a forest road while he was on his 4-wheeler. And he had that thing running wide open, and they were keeping pace with him. And this was a young kid, a teenager. And then there was another couple that they were broke down out on a forest road in Hardin County in the Shawnee National Forest. And they had a flat tire, and the husband was out changing the tire, and a rock got thrown and hit the truck. He got the tire changed, and right as he was getting the tire changed, getting everything put away, he heard something coming, charging towards the truck, and he was wondering what it was, and he looked up on top of the ridge line, and he thought it was tail lights looking at him. But then the tail lights went off, then the lights went off, and they come back on, and they started coming down the ridge line towards the truck.
And hey, we saw some kind of lights, Zach, when I took everybody out at that Wood Booger Festival, and something yelled back at us. It didn't sound like a coyote, but the second time that I yelled, definitely down in the holler was a pack of coyotes. But directly across the ridge was an orange and white orb, and it spun. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. But as you were trying to film it, and of course I only had my phone, you couldn't really see it in the phone. But man, you could see it, and then it shot down the woods real quick.
What?
And then it yes, man, I'm not kidding you.
No, I believe you. It's just this kind of exciting. Yeah. It's kind of exciting though.
Yeah. We only talked about it for a couple of days, but there was like 15 people there, and we all saw it. And man, I don't know what it was. It split in two, and then it would come back together, and then it shot back up, and then it just disappeared. And it happened all in about a span of 2 minutes, which seemed like an eternity. Yeah, it was wild. I mean, we got several witnesses that saw it. I want to be totally upfront with you. The couple nights before, me and the wife had gone up there, and I don't know if I sent you the video of those crows, but you couldn't see them in the video. You could see that one that kept coming back and looking at me and Kim, and then it would fly back to the other ones and kind of fly around with them, then it'd come back to us. And then 2 or 3 separated and went down in the woods. And then it wasn't windy that night, and this like wind came through, and I was like, that's it, we're out of here. It was kind of just weird. And then of course we took them back, and I told Kim, I was like, I don't think we need to really take these people up here. I just don't feel right about it. And my safety's number one concern, because I mean, it was a lot of people I didn't know. And they'd signed up to go on this hike with me. And so we ended up going back, and this guy that I was hiking in with, we had like 3 groups. There was a group of like 7, and then a group of like 4 or 5, and then it was me and this other guy. And he was like a freelance writer from Roanoke. And I wasn't going to do any yells. And he asked me, he's like, dude, can you do one of your yells? And I was like, yeah, I don't care. And I did it. And I was whispering to him, and I said, man, every time we go out, nothing happens. And he's like, shh, shh. And I was like, what? You hear something? And about that time, man, it yelled. And I mean, it was a yell. And all of us heard it. And we were like, what the heck? And I was like, that's not right, man. I can't believe we just heard that. And so we waited a few minutes, and he's like, do it again, do it again. And at this whole time, he's like writing stuff down. And so I did it, and that's when we heard the pack coyotes, and we started looking down the holler, and then that's when we looked to the left, and you could see that orange and white orb thing, whatever the hell it was. And of course, my first instinct's like, somebody's over there camping. They got flashlights. One of them's got like an orange flashlight. One of them's got, of course, a white one, or light, clear light, or whatever. And then when they shot down the woods like that, in just a matter of seconds, I knew it wasn't anybody camping. I mean, it was quick. It could have been a car. I mean, it was just way too quick. That's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, Zach.
There was other one that struck my mind right whenever you started talking. I didn't want to interrupt you. The same 2 guys, Joe and Jim, of the Hardin County BFRO, as I call them, they were out one night just spotlighting deer, counting deer. And they were shining down there, and the spotlight wasn't nowhere near where they saw this thing, but they saw these 2 red eyes peek out from behind a tree. You see my hat moving, right? Well, this thing peek out like this, and they'd see one, and then it'd go back behind the tree wherever they'd brought the light closer. And they'd take the light away, and that thing would peek out, and it'd look at them with both eyes, and you could see both eyes blink without the light reflecting, and it would go back behind the tree. They went back the very next day to that exact spot because it was just a place they'd found hiking. They went back to that same spot, and that was the only tree that was out in the middle of that field amongst those deer. That thing had come, and the wood line where this tree, from the tree where it was 100 yards away. That thing had snuck up out in an open field from the actual tree line to one solitary tree in the middle of the field.
Did you get an estimate about height wise? Like what do you think the height was?
I forget what Joe told me. I think he said it was between 8 and 10 foot tall. I know one thing. They had me come down there one night whenever I was working. We was working not far from his house down at Cedar Hill in Hardin County. And he had me stop by on my way home. I had to go back down there with the diesel and pick up the air compressor and bring it back to the shop. And he had me sit down in owns a recording studio, the Rock Recording Studio down in Elizabethtown. And they had me sit down there, and he wanted me to go and listen through all of his audio and try and debunk some of the stuff of what it was. A lot of it was coyotes, barred owls, and the such. But some of it, I'm willing to say that he got a Bigfoot on audio. I mean, he's got at least 30 audio recordings from 3 different zones in Hardin County alone. Wood knocks, samurai chatter, whoops, howls in that area. And he's got an ungodly amount of audio. And the guy actually come up to my last lecture that I did in September in Benton. He drove 40 miles, nearly 50 miles just to listen to me talk and hear this. And he played a lot of audio for me, and I just sat there and the hair stood up on my arms whenever I heard some of this audio, because I've heard the same audio here in Williamson County, and Hardin County is like 30 miles away from me.
Hey, me and Michael Cook had something happen to us. That was the second night I'd ever met Mike. And man, it was wild. Something yelled. I mean, it yelled at us. I mean, I can't deny that. So that's the only two
I remember
times.
one year. Yeah, me and Michael Cook. 1 year when he came up, it was a month of January. But this was about 2 years ago. Um, he came up, and I think the day before, yeah, he came up. I met up with him the day before the seminar I was hosting. I took him to the cold rivers because it was nearby from where we were, and it was cold. There was nobody around. It was cold and cloudy, and we went into a little ways. I took him on one of the trails, and we went up the
What?
trail just checking things out. And halfway back down the trail, he decided to pick up a piece of wood, and start banging it on a dead tree. And he kept banging, banging, banging. And, that piece of wood thumped and knocked and everything else on that dead log.
Yeah.
And unexpectedly, because, like, keep in mind, it was cold, wasn't expected anything to happen or hear anything. All of a sudden, we started hearing knocks, thumps, booms, everything all around us. And it was starting to get exciting. I was like, dude, this was totally unexpected, in the cold weather. And we're listening to it, and then it was going on for at least a good couple minutes or so. Then it kind of died down. And after it got quiet, we're standing there, we're talking, and through the woods, what we heard what it sounded like to us. We both agreed the sound was a fairly decent rock hitting another rock into the water, because there's a creek. If you go through the woods, there's a creek right there, and it flows. Certain times of the year, it flows pretty heavy. And but it sounded like there was a stone that got dropped or whatever. You could hear the stone hitting another stone, boom, into the water. And the water in that creek is only in certain areas. It's only a few inches to about a couple of feet deep, give or take, in some areas.
Trail that you took us down in June?
No, no, no. This is over by a certain somebody's camp.
I knew that was coming.
But
away from you guys and everything, something was following me through the woods, and I kept looking around because it was getting dark and everything. You had my parabolic, so I couldn't really caught or anything, but I had my recorder running, and whenever me and Alex and Mike linked back up, and you were down the trail, I don't know how far you was, probably about a half mile away.
Yeah.
And we was whooping back and forth, and I went to go and do a knock, and how something was moving through the tree line. And me and Alex couldn't catch it on our night scopes at all, but it was way further back in there, and something was moving heavy through those trees.
Yeah, well, you know how we split up into two groups, because the one group kind of went in towards you. Now, well, I stayed on the trail with the other group. We walked so far in. I believe we were just slightly ahead of you guys, but we got to a point where we just stayed in one spot. And it was on the trail because there was a slight clearing right next to where we were at. And we were listening, and we didn't really hear too much. We heard a couple little things. Weren't really sure. They were too faint and too far off. But yeah, that's one of the reasons I wanted to take you up. We didn't go in as far as I wanted to go, because if you follow that trail that went all the way down in there, that trail, it looks like it comes to a dead end, but it doesn't. It narrows because it's got two trails that split off. Anyway, down at the spot I wanted to go to, I had something a few years ago happen to me down there. I mean, something. It wasn't really major or exciting, but I was down there with a friend, and I don't know if she went up. She was walking up the trail, and I started walking up behind her, and I stopped because I heard something in the woods. It sounded like it wasn't a whoop, but it was some. I don't know how to describe it. But then it got quiet, and I'm listening, and just below, down on that trail, right there where I said it comes to like a dead end. Well, it's kind of a clearing there. You can see where people had a fire down there. We were sitting down there, kind of chilling before we. But I heard a crack and then a big boom, like something dropped or something fell. So I ran down there. I was like, "What the heck?" I wanted to go check it out. I said, "There's something down there I want to know," but But I went down there, and I didn't walk in the woods. I was standing on the outside, of looking in, because inside there's all these. It's kind of thick vegetation, a lot of ferns. I mean, these ferns. You walk down there and get level with these ferns on the ground. These ferns come up to almost your chest. That's how tall and thick these are. Big, thick, healthy ferns. And but I didn't see nothing. But I definitely walked through there. And as I was walking through this area where these ferns were, I came to a spot where you could see something was in there. Something was definitely there at one point, because those ferns were freshly just smashed down and flattened into the ground. So, but
Yeah.
hey, who knows? That crash, that it could have been a bear, as far as I know. Since I didn't see it, I can't say it was a squatch, but that area, it definitely seemed very squatchy to be in there to begin with. But now, real quick, I kind of neglected a couple questions on the chat. And actually, both of them. Well, one I know was talking about the bears. Let me back up. I want to start with Bill Brock's question, which we really didn't get to get that one. Now, let me. I'll go ahead here. I'll post it so you guys, so everyone could see it. But Bill Brock said, if we ever asked a witness about ears, I often ask interesting things. Yeah, he said, I often ask interesting things is no one seems to remember. Just an interesting fact. LOL. Which I think I know his point behind it, because do people ever see ears?
Well, supposedly they don't have it. Like they're
more like us on the side, right?
Yeah, but they're more of a conformed, maybe, or into the head, more or less.
Yeah.
And a lot of the long hair probably covers a lot of that too.
I'll give my 2 cents on that. In the encounters that I've had, I've only had a handful of them. I'm more worried. I'm not paying attention to the ears. I'm more watching the hands, the feet, the eyes, watching the body language of this creature. In case it decides to get aggressive and everything. I'm not worried about the ears. I'm more worried about getting my ass out of there in one piece.
Well, yeah. With that being said, let me ask you guys this, and anyone on the chat could interact too. Please do. Everybody on the chat, you guys are welcome to interact with us. But now, between anything you guys may have observed, or even hearing other people's encounters and what they have observed, what's one thing? Can you guys recall something that's, a lot of people don't think about this, but I've witnessed this back in 2014. One of the things I've witnessed, and I've heard other people say it too, and a lot of people share this, and not many people do, but I heard enough to where it collaborates with my encounter and others. But what's one thing that you guys might be familiar with that's commonly reported as far as movement?
What, side to side?
Yeah, exactly. The side to side swaying, or swaying side to side.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I've heard multiple people say that. Our last guest that we had on here, Michael Patterson, he had shared that. He witnessed that. But I've heard other people share it too. I find that little bit of information, that body gesture, that movement, I find that very fascinating. It's something I believe is common with them. Is it a nervous tick? Is it them just standing there because they're like curious? Like, is the squatch like, yeah, man, what's up? So
That's interesting. Yeah, interesting.
A majority of the encounters that I've had, that I've seen the Bigfoot, they're always on the move. The one that I had, the first one I had in 2015, whenever I was 20, I spooked it and it took off running, and whenever I saw it, it was taking like very long strides, like it was bounding whenever it was sprinting off. And some of them, like whenever I had the encounter here about 2 years ago, whenever I was in Sasquatch, one of my main research areas, I saw two little ones up on the hill watching. I mean, you could see their silhouettes and everything, and they was looking at each other, and then they was looking at me and tilting their head, and you could see their eyes moving, and reflecting up from my headlamp that I had on them, and they were just sitting there looking at each other. And one would go and pop it the other one in the chest, and it would look at me and tilt its head to the side. And you could make out a little bit like they was like talking to each other, like samurai chatter. I couldn't hear them, but you could see their lips moving. And whenever I had the encounter with Scar with his two females here 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I had to think back. Whenever I caught him in my light, it would seem like he was a little bit hypnotized by my headlamp, because all he saw was this little 5'9" man standing there looking at him at about 20, 30, 40 feet away. And whenever I'd tilt my light to the side, he'd follow suit. And I'd do it the other way, and he'd do the same thing. And I'd look away from him, just moving my eyes, but I'd keep my light on him. And the two females were sitting there, and they had their backs to him, and they were looking out from over their shoulder, looking at me to the side, and they had their heads down, looking at me, though, and they were sitting there on the ground. I never really ever noticed with them doing the side-to-side swaying. They're more like nervous and everything, like deer will. From my experiences, they'll sit there and they'll like shuffle their feet a little bit, like get their feet in the direction that they're ready to take off from.
Harold on live chat was asking about, do they ever jump up and down? I can't say I've ever noticed that. Perhaps they do.
That thinks back to the Albert Osman case, where Albert Osman, he observed the two little ones from the family unit that he stayed with for the week that he was there. The young male and the young female would sit there and try to jump higher than the other one, sort of like a little competition as they was playing.
I like Gwendolyn's comment about the ears.
Talked about that.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah, as far as Gwendolyn's comment about the ears, here it is again. She said, if the ears are not visible, then the first response is to say you don't remember them rather than it didn't have any at all. That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And Gwendolyn, if you're still watching and listening, check your Facebook Messenger. Okay, here's a good question from Michael Patterson. And this question here is based off of his sighting. His sighting was, it had white to grayish like hair or fur.
I've heard of that.
So yeah, I actually have too. And his question is, do you think the white fur is genetic or just old age?
Old age. Look at my beard.
look.
That's old age.
Look at mine.
Yeah.
I'm just a couple years younger than you.
Old age there, buddy. That's your answer.
You have to think, silverback gorilla. Only the alpha males have silverbacks. The rest of them have brown or black. And only whenever they achieve the rank of alpha male of the troop that they're with will the backs turn silver.
Interesting. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. You learn something new every day.
Oh, yeah, I do, actually. The witness that I know that saw this white Bigfoot was real skinny, but yet muscular. Still, he could see the muscle in it. Loose white hair, just like us. I mean, we lose our hair up here; it turns gray. Makes sense.
And it's another thing I read about with chimpanzees. Whenever they assume they attain the role of alpha of their group, they get a lot more bigger. They get a lot more muscular. It's like, especially with there's this one bird. If it becomes the leader of its flock, there's a crest on its head that'll change color.
Yeah, some mainly like parrots. I can't remember. There's other birds. I know what they are. I just can't think of the name. Anyway, there's certain ones where, like for example, a parrot, or when a bird wants to strut, or just like a turkey. Yeah, when a turkey, when alpha turn, when turkey's strutting, they open up their wings and and all that good stuff. And guess what, guys? What?
Okay.
Everybody,
Anyways,
welcome Gwen.
I gotta go to bed.
All right, Sam. Hey, thank you, Sam.
Hello, Miss Gwendolyn.
Hello, how are you?
Getting older and uglier every day.
Oh, I highly doubt that.
He's talking about getting old. He's still a baby.
I think he's younger than me.
You get in there and you wrestle like I do, bub, you'll go and feel old.
Wait a minute, Gwendolyn, you said you think he's younger than you?
Yeah, I do. I think he's younger than me.
Well, you got a 14-year-old daughter. How's that possible?
How old are you?
How old am I?
No, how old is Zach?
Oh, how old are you, Zach? 23?
24. Still.
I got some news on you.
Stupid duh.
Hey, look, I was just messing with you, Glenn. You can still say you're younger than him.
I'll admit it.
So, actually, I do believe this is the first time you've ever joined us, isn't it?
It is,
Or have
yeah.
you been? Oh, okay, I thought so. So, how you been doing?
I've been doing really good. I'm sure you've
Awesome.
seen. I recently got married.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Now, I know because of this time of year, weather's getting cold. I know not too many people really get out and do their thing, but mainly this time of year. I know here in Virginia, we're still going through the hunting season. But I was just curious. I'm sure if you have, maybe you posted. Then again, some people don't always post their business, but just curious. Have you been out in a while?
I have been. Most of the hiking that I've done has been leisure hiking. It's not been any kind of research that I've been doing, but I did stumble across some really nice prints. I got lots of pictures of them. I wasn't able to get castings because, again, it was a leisure hike. I wasn't really prepared. But
okay.
yeah, I did get some hand measurements, the best I could do with nothing on me. So
nice.
But I was really dreading it. I highly doubt it because we went way off trail, and I highly doubt it if we left the woods, went to go get casting material, and came back that I would even be able to find the spot again.
Oh man, you need to carry some like ribbon or something with you and mark your trail.
Yeah. I mean, or breadcrumbs, or just Gretel.
Yeah, right. Oh, Sam, I see you made it back with us. What happened? Did you already call up to work for the morning?
No, I don't know what happened. I lost. I couldn't hear anybody. I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying goodnight, that you had to go.
No, I do have to go, but yeah, I'm sorry that I've got to go, but I got to get up early. So.
Oh, I was gonna make a joke, but I was gonna make a joke about you have to go, but I didn't want to upset you or offend you.
Listen,
there's
just one thing I want to say. One thing I want to know: the 3 groups, and I want to know the researchers in Australia. I want to know their names. So please do. I hope he does a video on those names. If he did,
I'm sure he. If they're not watching this live stream now, you best believe it, they will watch it later. Somebody will share it to them. So anytime, even though we did not mention their names, you best believe somebody knows what we're talking about, and it's going to get back to them. So,
well, looking forward to Expedition Bigfoot. I think it's going to be I don't know. I hope it's different than all the other shows were. It's a TV show.
Does anybody
though.
know what network? What channel does that come on? I don't even have cable. I'm too poor to have
I
cable.
believe it's Travel Channel.
On the Travel Channel.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
You know what?
Yeah.
I might. Hey, is there an app? Sometimes I know there's certain movie apps and TV apps you
There
can
is
download for
Travel
free.
Channel, but you have to go and enter in your Direct TV or your Dish Network code to get it.
Well, I'll have to find someone that might give me their code because I don't have none of that.
I tried to do that whenever I had the History Channel app, so that way I could watch Shelby the Swamp Man and Monster Quest, and it only let me watch like the first 3 episodes before it said you have to enter your Dish Network or Direct TV code before you can watch the whole season.
Hmm.
And I went to ask my dad, what's your Direct TV code, and they like, I don't know.
Yeah, Paul Sullivan said Hulu. Now that I know that I got a couple movie apps. See on my phone, I got Netflix.
Hey, y'all squatch on. I gotta run. Y'all have a good night.
You too, Sam.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you, Sam, for coming on. All right. Yeah, I got Netflix, and the other one is called Tubi, Tubi, Tubi TV. Tell you what, I actually find that one a lot better than Netflix. There's more movies, and if you look up Bigfoot movies, this has a whole list of them. I mean, a lot of them are horror movies and thrillers, but it's more Bigfoot movies to watch on Tubi TV than Netflix. The only thing I see on Netflix is the Todd Standing movie called Discovering Bigfoot, and I actually have that on DVD because somebody gave that to me at my last conference. They had extras and they just gave me one, but I had watched it before on Netflix, but it's actually interesting. So,
I'm sure that if you go to like the Travel Channel's website, they might have a link to where you can download like an app that you pay for to do like live streaming or back streaming of their show.
Okay.
Yeah, I would check on Travel Channel website if you're looking for just the Travel Channel.
Right.
Yeah.
Gwendolyn, since you jumped on, our number of viewers jumped up. You must have had a following. You brought them with you.
Very cool.
Because right now we're broadcasting both on YouTube and Facebook, so it's a combination. It's got total numbers. Yeah, there's 26 watching at right now. But if you go to Facebook, there's only 10 on Facebook. And then, so it must be around 15 to 16 on, 15 on YouTube. So, yeah. I love this platform. Since we started this platform, they got the new option where you can multi-stream in more than one location. Right now, that you can only do 2. Now, if I upgrade more, I'm already on a regular basic package. You could stream for as long as you want, but if you upgrade to another level, there's more options and everything. But I think just the way it is perfect. So
yeah.
Now there was a question on here earlier. We were talking about bears and in general, and this and that. There was another question I wanted to get on here, and I believe it was, I forget who asked it. Let me back up here on the questions here. All right. I remember the question, but I don't. Oh, here it is. Now, we were talking about bears and we were talking about tree breaks and this and that, Well, we were talking about how every tree break is not done by a Bigfoot, because there is some people out there that believe, every break they see is, there's got to be Bigfoot. Well, this question got brought up during that time, and I neglected to get to it because we got into other discussions. But this question here, Brown Dwarf on YouTube was asking, do bears build teepees? Well, it's funny that we would think not they would have to have hands to do something like that normally, right? Well, we do know bears like to push over and play on trees. And when I read this question, this is what ran through my head. Think about a bear playing in the woods. We know bears will push on trees and everything else. What if a bear was working this area playing with random trees, and all these trees, regardless if they were dead, rotted, whatever, and they were easily uprooted, and say a group of trees eventually kind of came together and they all fell together by a bear playing around on it. What happens if they came together and we come across it later on as a dude, there's a teepee right there. But I've come across teepees. Don't get me wrong, teepees are probably one of my favorite type of structures to ever come across. I've had my share of come across teepee-like structures, and they are fascinating. Or a cluster of sticks that are just joined together, at the top, and those are the kind of things I like to find. But I don't know if I made sense the way I just explained that, but what would you think? Does that make sense to you, or could you see that happening, Gwendolyn? Like a bear playing on trees, and they kind of
anything's possible, but at the same time, the chances of something like that happening, I think, would be really slim.
Yeah, I agree.
Structures that it would almost have to be intentional.
Yeah.
And the further back into the woods you go, the less likely you're going to get a lot of human interference.
Right.
So if you're pretty far back off the beaten trail and away from highways and roadways, I feel like the chances of it being caused by a creature are a lot higher. But for it to by chance be caused by several bears or bear cubs playing around, I think it would have to be really by chance. And I don't think that we would find it as often as we would if they were intentional.
See, I agree with that, and yeah, I like the way you said that. It makes a lot of sense. But I believe, like I said, I'm very objective with a lot of structures, but when it comes to teepee structures, those in particular, I believe that I like to associate them. I definitely associate them with Bigfoot activity. Now, regardless if it's a form of, if it's supposed to be like a shelter or a marker or a territorial, I really like them, and I do believe that they are possible, strongly possibly Bigfoot related. But then again, can a person do it? Sure, but why is excuse me, why would a person be trying to build just random teepee structures? I have found teepee structures anywhere from actually there's one I posted in a group of photos not long ago. They're old photos, but I just posted a bunch of random things of my findings, and some of them are structures. Now, there's a picture of what appears to be a small teepee, probably about 3 to 4 feet high, right next to a tree. Now, there's another picture of another one. It's only about 1.5 to 2 feet high. Those two were actually right next to each other, and it was on top of a hill that leveled out. I was climbing a small ridge one time, and when I got to the top of it, when I found the one structure, the one that was about 3 to 4 feet tall, I said, "This is cool looking." I mean, it was small, but it still was very cool to see. And then I just so happened, about seconds later to almost a minute later, I found the other one. It was only less than about 2 feet away, but I was focused on the one right there in front of me. Then I turned to my right and see the other one. But even though they're small, they were very fascinating. But my other teepee structures I've come across were 7 to 8 feet tall. I've had one probably about 9, 10 feet tall, and I have a picture of one. I'll have to look for it. There's one. It was all the trees were about the same size. They were probably about 3 or 4 inches round, but these were very tall, slim trees with no limbs on them. They were all thrown in together. There was probably about maybe 5, 6 of them, maybe, that were like literally like almost a widespread teepee. That was interesting, and that there was found over where I've had some activity back in 2013. But they're definitely interesting. What would be I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, have you ever seen where it looks like a whole tree was uprooted? I got pictures of this, and I've only seen this a couple times. It was really neat looking. It looked like a whole big old tree. It was probably about 2 foot around, was picked up, carried up these other 2 sets of trees that had like the V at the top, and placed in between those 2 trees in that V, to where that one tree that was uprooted connected those 2 trees that were still standing. Have you ever seen something like that?
I'm trying to. That sounds interesting. I was trying to picture that as you described it. I'm not so
you got a
sure if I
tree
have
here,
or not.
and it's in a V, and then you got another tree
Okay.
down a little ways, and it's in a V. Then you got a whole tree that's been uprooted. It's a thick tree, and it's still pretty fresh, and it looks like it's been carried up those trees and set in the V's to where it runs long ways along the top of those trees.
No, I've come across some pretty cool, weird, crazy stuff, but I personally can't say I have.
Seen that twice, and it was one of the neatest things. And I got some really good pictures of one of them, and you could tell it was like a really fresh tree. It wasn't dead. It didn't have any rot to it. It was still nice and light brown, and it was just really cool looking. And I just didn't know if either one of you have ever seen that before.
Well, you mentioned some. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Zach. Say that again, Zach.
In parallel with the fork in them, and you talking about the tree laying horizontal across the 2 vertical trees?
Yeah.
No, I honestly haven't. I mean, I've seen a tree that's been uprooted and the root ball stuck up in the fork of a tree, and it's sitting in A-frame style.
Yep, I was just about to say the same thing, Zach. It looked like, yeah, I have seen that there, but it was almost like it wasn't quite a teepee. It was to me, I would consider it a teepee structure. But one of the trees that were, like you said, the fork of a tree, you got one standing tree and then branches out. You got these other trees, other trees that were laid up in there. And one of them was the root ball that was wedged up in there. Now, I know that wasn't storm damage. Mm-hmm. That definitely was not storm damage. I found that mind blowing. I actually got pictures of that. I have thousands of pictures on my Facebook. It's hard to come across everything.
In order for it to come up and fall down into that fork that's obviously up higher than the heaviest part of the tree, something would have had to have shifted that root ball up high enough to where it weighed heavy enough to slide down into that fork.
Well, let's put it this way. All right, that standing tree and there's other trees that were combined. I'm about 6 foot tall. These trees, if I stand up to next to that tree, it was probably over 7.5 to 8 feet tall, right there where that root ball was wedged in between. Basically, kind of like here's a tree going up, and then where it splits off right here. Yeah, so take this finger. Say the root ball was at the tip of my finger right here. It was actually up here, and the top of the tree was down on the ground. So, yeah I mean,
natural.
Absolutely. So, I have seen uprooted trees and root balls high up in the air, over top of other debris and stuff, which I was slightly on the fence of that, because sometimes when a tree gets uprooted, if it lands over something else, it may kind of wedge up and it might flop up on one side. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I have seen, old stumps and stuff, in the woods upside down, old rotted trees with the root balls or the stumps, leaning up against other trees and stuff like that. Makes you wonder,
Yeah.
At that point, I'd be looking for any kind of like human interference. I'd be looking for where someone could have hoisted it up with a come along or a chain or a winch, where they would be going and lifting it up. I'd be looking for choker marks, looking for any kind of tire tracks, look for any kind of scarring that could be on the tree, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Here's a good question.
Where they're laying horizontally in the trees?
Yeah, I mean, I could go in there with a tractor with my 40-20 or my 55-25 with a front end loader, and I could take and hook a log claw on the end of that front end loader and I could lift that thing up in there and maneuver it to where I could fit it in the tops of those trees just as easy.
You guys see the question I have posted up on the screen here? Barry, yeah, have you ever come across what I best describe as a manufactured box canyon / murder chute blind made of downed trees blocking multiple game trails to herd prey into a dead end?
Talking about a funnel point, bottleneck point. That's what hunters.
I mean,
that's what any kind of hunter will use whenever they are trying to bottleneck. They'll hit the main game trail and they'll make a funnel where there's one way in and one way out. Make it easier to ambush.
right.
I personally haven't.
Yeah, I haven't. I can't say I have.
If
You know, and
stick out like a sore thumb because I'm in the woods a lot. Not as much as I used to be since I started this new job and everything, but no, I haven't seen anything like that that stood out to me. But I hope I do.
Trevor Terrell says sassafras trees produce a berry at the top. I've seen bears bow them over and in a cluster. He said it looks like a hut. Well, you know, it's funny he mentioned that because in one particular area, I have come across a cluster of sassafras trees that they were all bowed in together, like they were like all, you know, in this deep in the woods, and you got all this mountain laurel and all this other brush in there, and you got all these random sassafras trees. Well, there was a cluster of sassafras. I've literally seen them like all like going in almost in a circle, all bent in together. Now,
yeah, I used to see that a lot growing up, and I don't really see that much anymore. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's the area that I lived in when I was growing up, but I used to see that all the time, and now I hardly ever see it.
What was that? Sassafras trees or them?
Yeah, where it comes in to almost look like an igloo type hut.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Huh. I mean, do you still have the sassafras in the areas you go into?
Yeah, but I don't see them where they're intersecting and almost making like a little igloo anymore. And I'm not sure if that's because it's more sparse than the area I grew up in, because I grew up in Kentucky.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's interesting.
Hey,
maybe it's something to kind of every now and then kind of check in on that every now and then because
yeah.
I'm gonna call it a night. I got to get up early and go work out in the morning. Then I got to go set up for the show tomorrow night and then wrestle. But
well, Zach, before you jump off here, you want to give one last minute promo and remind everybody what you got going on for tomorrow evening?
You bet your ass I do. No, tomorrow night, starting at 6 o'clock, the doors open at Black Diamond Harley Davidson Warehouse in my hometown of Marion, Illinois. Stride Pro Wrestling presents AAPW Resurrection. It's a benefit show for the former wrestler and Southern Illinois native Dan Curly Summers. 100% of what we make tomorrow night in ticket sales, concessions, and merch is going towards Curly to help him with his medical issues, to help get them sorted out. You come on out, you'll be seeing favorites like Edmund Livewire McGuire, Heath Hatton, Paul Rose, Jay Spade, Carnage even, Christian Rose, Joey O'Reilly, the Playboy Paul Rose. We're going to be having a packed out card tomorrow night with the big main event between former heavyweight champion Red Daniels and the veteran Edmund Livewire McGuire taking on the current Stride Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion Axe Allworth, the old school warrior, with Gaylord Stevens, his brother, in a tag team match. Also, you can come out and see Heath Hatton, Jay Spade, and Kevin Huntsberger take on the Kings of Destiny, Chris Hargis, Roger Mathis, and Savion Ayers, the Kings of Destiny. You can come on out and see Team Stride take on Team AAPW in a Survivor Series style tag team elimination match. And also, you can see me and several of my buddies that are at the wrestling school debut. You'll see Bones Brinkmeyer, K-Mac, Justin Dirks, Luke Williams, and me, the one and only Southern Outlaw, make our debuts in this Curly Memorial Battle Royal. And also, it's gonna be packed out. I've been to their show before. I've been to AEPW shows, and we're already looking at a huge crowd. They're going to go, and we've already talked. Hatton told us Tuesday night that he's already sold over 250 tickets already pre-sale, and it was getting so hot in demand that he just said, just get them at the door. Tickets for adults, $10 a piece. Kids 12 and under are $5 a piece. You guys are more than welcome to come on out and support us. Let's raise some cash for Curly, help him get up back on the right track and everything. But y'all have a very good night. Keep a wary eye out, your ears to the wind and your nose to the ground. And I'll see you guys on the trail. Hopefully you guys will tune in tomorrow night for APW Resurrection in my hometown of Marion, Illinois. Stay squatchy, everybody.
Zach, before you jump off, if you ever decide to change your wrestling name, how about Zach Attack Steric?
No.
You know where I got Zach Attack from? That movie, Wrestling with My Family.
You mean Zach Zodiac?
Oh, Zodiac, yeah. Well, it made me think of Zach Attack because that's his move.
Honestly, going out there, and I had to research my name that I was going to use to make sure there wasn't any other pro wrestlers out there, because originally they was wanting to call me Texas Red and everything because they thought I was from Texas and because I have red hair. And I'm like, I'm not going out there with the name Texas Red. And they said, why? I said, because Mark Calloway used that name in WCW before he became Undertaker in the World Wrestling Federation. I'm not going to desecrate that name like that and be a little fat, pale white redhead being called Texas Red. I said, I'll just go Southern Outlaw. But I will say this, for all them unlucky souls in that battle royal, it will be high noon, and I will knock you out.
Zach's getting his wrestling talk going on here.
Right.
Hey, all big talk and everything. Bones is all talk. He'll do nothing because it'll be his head bouncing off the canvas and me stomping on his throat by the time I'm done with him. 1, 2, 3, and your winner by pinfall or knockout will be the Southern Outlaw.
Well, Zach, Dwayne Johnson just challenged you. You gonna take that match?
It doesn't matter what Dwayne Johnson says.
Let me call him real quick.
Yeah, just call his personal number. We know y'all got it.
I love y'all. Good night. Wish me luck. I'm going out there and I'm going to tear the house down tomorrow night, or at least try.
We better see a video of you in all tangled up in a pretzel.
Oh, yeah.
They're talking about we're going to broadcast Battle Royal live on my mother's Facebook. She'll tag me in it, so you guys stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Good night, guys.
If you don't mind, Daniel, good night, Zach. I got a couple things to promote myself.
Oh, absolutely. Please feel free to do so.
So there's a really big, we're hoping it's going to be really huge, fundraiser coming up. Candace and I, Candace has done amazing with trying to get a bunch of stuff together. She's working with Jack Kenna, Carly Hall, and some other really great people. And it's going to be a fundraiser for autism awareness.
Oh, nice.
And all the funds and proceeds from the tickets and appearances and things like that are going to go to autism awareness. And there's going to be vendors there. Of course, the vendors, they'll get to keep their own profits, but they're going to keep everyone updated. It's going to be August 1st, starting at 10 a.m. and I believe till 6 p.m. So if you guys want to check it out and keep up to date with everything that's going on, you can look on ICU Paranormal And also, I will share all their stuff onto my groups page, Uncharted Paracryptid Studies. So it's
Awesome.
going to be August 1st, 2020. So we're hoping it's going to be really big. We're hoping to get some really big names out there to join in. There's going to be some really great stuff to auction off. There's going to be an all-night investigation after the main events. So everybody should keep track of it and watch what's going on with it and come out when it's time.
That sounds pretty cool. And you said this is happening right there in Kentucky?
It's going to be in Ashmore Estates in Illinois.
Oh, okay. All right. You know what? You should make sure Zach's aware of that, because Zach is definitely all about supporting that. He's got a form of autism.
Really? Oh, great!
Yeah.
I'll definitely reach out to him, see if he wants to help out in any way and get involved somehow.
Yeah, because I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how far that may be from him. Is it? I'm not familiar with locations in Illinois except for his area and then Chicago. But I mean, those are the only places I know of in there. But would that happen to be anywhere around the southern part of Illinois?
You're asking the wrong person.
Oh, okay.
I'm not really familiar with Illinois at all. I know that this is kind of Candace's baby. She's really done well as far as like reaching out to people, getting it together. Jack Kenna has been, and Carly Hall has been a huge, immense help with all of it too. So they're really the ones to reach out to. I'm kind of just in the background helping out where I can. So
Okay.
I just wanted to throw it out there because I feel like it's a really great event and it's going to be for a great cause.
Yeah.
And it's going to be largely ghost investigation based, but we're hoping to get some Bigfoot and UFO people in there if we can. I know we reached out to like Dave Schrader, Sean Whalen. We're not sure. We haven't heard back from some of the people yet, but we're really reaching out to a lot of some really great people. So
that's awesome. That sounds very exciting. And when is this happening again? If you don't,
August 1st, 2020.
August 1st. Okay, great. Yeah, I got a niece and nephew. They got autism. My sister Melanie, her oldest daughter, and then her youngest, her son has autism. There are two different types of autism. I can't remember what they were, but Sabrina, she's the oldest one. She's like 20, 26, 27, whatever. She's got hers is. I know when she was younger, she's actually mellowed out big time, but she was very. I don't know how to describe it. She used to have a lot of outbursts, and she was a little on the wild side, I guess you could say. But I don't know. I mean, my sister. Some of her outbursts were in public.
That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for example, here's one example. This is one thing that happened one time. My sister Melanie, and she had her kids, and they ran into my other sister Melissa, and Melissa's the oldest out of the two. Well, Melissa had her daughter, and her husband, and at that time, Corinne, my sister Melissa's daughter, she was pregnant at the time, and Sabrina, when they met up, for one thing, Sabrina, she wants so bad to have a companion, and and when she saw her cousin Corinne and her husband together and being pregnant, it just set something off in her. It was like she went running through the mall screaming, I want to have a baby, I want to get pregnant, blah blah, stuff like that. And my poor sister, it was embarrassing, she couldn't help it.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand where people can find it embarrassing, but at the same time, I feel like that's where events like this are such a great thing, because it helps people who haven't had to deal with it and who aren't experienced in it to understand how it all goes, and to not jump to conclusions when they see outbursts like that in public. When you make people aware of things like autism and whatnot, I feel like it helps the parents, it helps the person that does have autism. It makes them aware of the types of situations that parents of children with autism or even the autistic people deal with.
Yeah. Like Sabrina, Yeah, the one that had the outburst. Well, like I said, she's really calmed down now. Although, you know, she might be calm now, but and don't get me wrong, she has a very high IQ. She was very smart, very intelligent, had straight A's, honor roll through school, everything. But then again, at the same time, her mentality is very immature too. But she's slow. She's getting a little bit better. I think at her age, I don't know, her social skills are not where they should be. But and then again, and then the her little brother that has autism, he seems more normal than most. Like you wouldn't think he had autism. He's a very, my sister Melanie makes sure he stays active. He does sports, Boy Scouts, and all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So, but so yeah, it's I don't know. My sister Melanie, out of her 4 kids, she had her hands full because she was married to their father, but
You said 4 kids?
Yeah, she has 4.
That is
Yeah.
still a handful. That's rough. But,
Yeah.
this it'll also help raise money towards research of autism and things like that. So it's just a good cause. But I just wanted to throw that out there before we got off.
Oh yeah.
Because if anything, that to me, if we can use our groups and our research and what we do and just kind of help some situations and some good causes like that, I feel like that makes all of everything of what we do totally worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And real quick, Harold had a question. He said, Gwen, why do you think autism is way more prevalent these days? Not sure.
I don't know. I know that I'm not sure if it's more prevalent or if we're just gaining a better understanding
Yeah.
of it. It's becoming more widely known because there's people out there, there's groups out there like ICU Paranormal who are working and putting an effort towards the awareness of it. And also we're gaining a better understanding of what exactly autism is. So I'm not sure if it's more prevalent versus the fact that we're getting more knowledge about what autism means.
All right. Interesting. Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, definitely. When that comes about, what if you got anything for online promo, definitely send it my way. Share it in my. I got my main ECBRO group.
Okay.
Definitely feel free to. Usually, I don't do non-Bigfoot related stuff in there, but it is for autism, and also you guys are trying. You guys are including like you mentioned earlier the ghost hunting and all that, and trying to get some cryptid stuff involved for that as part of that fundraiser. So, yeah, most definitely send it my way. And any of my groups, I got several different Bigfoot groups I own and host and whatever you call it. So, but I mainly focus on my main ECBR group. But I got the ECBR pages, and I'm also administrator of other people's groups too. So I can share stuff in there too. So I do a lot of sharing in. So, but yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that too.
Absolutely, and thank you for letting me.
Oh no, not a problem. Not a problem. I'll charge. I'll send you the bill. And I just mess with you. Okay, well, we are going to go ahead wrap it up and call it a night. But for those who tune in, we go live every Friday night unless I have something come up. So thank you guys for tuning in, and if you have not done so, feel free to subscribe, and it's not too late to share this around, so keep sharing it, and until next time, guys, you guys have a good night.
Bye.
And this takes about a few seconds.